What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Novichenko Whips YouTube channel. Today we're gonna go for a nice sunny drive to work on the F30 335i. I've recently lowered this car on some H&R springs and just upped the power a little bit to the MHD Stage 2 flash. The car has a Vrsf downpipe, BMS intake, and then the BMS charge pipe. Just Stage 2 for now. There is a Stage 2 Plus tune, but I think I'd need to upgrade the intercooler for that to run reliably. Let's go for a spin and see what she does. All right, today we're back commuting to work in the F30 3 Series 335i with the N55 engine, single turbo. Years ago, I owned a couple of the E90 model BMWs. Those one was the 328i. That one came with the inline non-turbo N54 engine. Super reliable, never had an issue with it. And then years down the road, I had a E90 four-door 335i with the N54 twin turbo. That one, for some reason, was plagued with a lot of the notorious E90 issues, which included the wastegate rattle, included the check engine lights, you know, the various powertrain malfunctions and issues. And so that car was really cool, but I can't say that I've missed it in regard of overall enjoyable ownership car. I've heard good things about the N55 in these F30s. This car I got a little while ago. It was Stage 1. Little issues here and there. I believe it's at 98,000 miles, but fairly good condition, all things considered. Ride's really nice. I've just lowered it on the H&R Sport Springs, and they feel great. It's not much of a sacrifice compared to stock, but the ride height is better, and now it feels a little bit more solid, more planted on the road. We just went over a pretty good bump that on other cars that I've owned, would scrape or rub, and there was none of that. And it also didn't feel crazy jarring or anything. I think in this automatic transmission compared to the E90s, because that's the experience I have, this thing is leaps and bounds better. The ZF8 speed is awesome. It just feels so snappy. The automatic, the previous automatic in the E90s it felt like an automatic. Slushy. You didn't really want to do any of the shifting yourself, even with the Steptronic up and down on the shifter shifter lever. This car has the paddles, and you actually want to use them, right? You want to, even in comfort mode, it shifts pretty nice and snappy. I like the sound of the single turbo. I think it's different, a different tone overall compared to the former cars. Let me see if I can get around this person, because we are going to be going slow. I have driven this turn before in the stock suspension. Feels a little more planted now. These cars feel so good at speed, at some higher speeds. Again, my commute to work definitely gives me a good shakedown for any car. There's plenty of turns and acceleration and braking and off-camber turns and nice banked turns as well. You might hear some drone, and there is drone. I got this car completely straight piped with no catalytic converter, no high flow cat, full downpipe. And I drove it to work once, and I said I can't do that. 30 minutes, and I did have a pretty nice headache. And so I've put a Rev 9 muffler on it just to see how much it would help. And it has helped a lot. The tone is still really nice on acceleration, The only thing is the drone is still there. And so I know the factory muffler was also cut out with a straight pipe welded in, and I have a resonator, 3-inch resonator laying around at home that I'm gonna get welded in, and hopefully that'll take care of more of the drone. I hear good things about the M Performance exhausts. I'll keep an eye out on like the Facebook Marketplace and other places for one. If it ever pops up, I'll probably snag it just to keep everything, you know, OEM M. It's a lovely day to be out driving. Let me open the... So we're in comfort mode. Transmission is in the sportier mode. I feel like there's less drone when the RPMs hang a little higher than 2000. It's like going 70 on the freeway, and in cruise control at 2K is just big resonance, almost like a vibration through the car that you can hear. Let's see if I can get you a better angle here. I'm also going to open a window. I have this stage 2 setup. It's like an OEM burble setting for like a split second. I like it. It feels OEM plus. I could flip it over to the next. Kind of traffic here today, probably lunchtime. I have 4 slots set up in this map, which is really cool, something you can do in the MHD software, where my primary slot, which I'm on right now, is the 91 octane stage 2 map from MHD, and then it has only the OEM style burbles for like 0.3 seconds. For like 0.3 seconds, and only in sport mode. Comfort mode doesn't have it. And then my slot number 2 is the same map, but with a bit more burbles enabled in sport mode. I have them turned off in all the comfort modes. I don't think it's really worth having on in the comfort mode. I know some people do run it. And then in the third map, I just have it more aggressive. And the fun map, you could call it, is the 4th slot, where I've upped the octane rating to the 93 map. I'm sure it throws a little more timing at the engine. And so if I'm feeling spicy and want to risk it for the biscuit for whatever reason, maybe it's a nice cool day. I wouldn't do it on a hot day or necessarily day where it's like over this 60 degrees outside. 70 and up, I'd probably not turn on that map, just due to the nature of the timing and the heat, and also the octane rating that we have here in Washington State. This car feels very nimble. For example, compared to the F10 M5 that I have that I drove to work. So this thing is way more daily friendly. It's peppy. These roads call for a car like this, where you can be a bit more peppy. Reason being is the M5 is big and heavy. This car likes the stop and go. The 0 to 60 in this car is plenty fun. Let's see. Let's see if we can get some exhaust sound. I've actually not done like a wide open throttle pull yet with the stage 2. So let's test that anti-lag, shall we? Oh yeah. Lovely. Oh, I love the brap on the kind of the overrun on an upshift. I set it to the short mode. I used to shift and it would go brrr. Now it goes brrr. You know, it's funny that it's like you're playing a video game with these new methods of tuning. Nice leaf coming out from under that truck. Good thing it's a leaf, not something bigger. These new when I was younger, you had to go through the JB4, the juice box. You had to like daisy chain it and piggyback it off your ECU, and it had some of these settings, but it's so nice now. You just get a Wi-Fi connection, USB adapter, plug it in. You can have your gauges on your phone, and so many other cool things. It's definitely come leaps and bounds further, and the competition is great. The two main companies, MHD and Bootmod. I think Bootmod is made by Horsepower Freaks. MHD definitely has a lot more customization, so that's what this car came with, and I'm loving it. My M5 has the BM3 tune. It's great as well, but it feels more refined. The power comes on the top end. You get only two choices, the aggressive or non-aggressive tune, and so the aggressive one just has a lot of burble. The non-aggressive has sometimes a shot or two out the back, kind of like an OEM Plus feel, which I like. The MPGs in this car are not bad. You see 20.7, that's because I've been on it since I've started it and reflashed it and been on these roads, but if you drive calmly, I think it's 25 plus easily. These German cars, you don't feel the speed, and so you feel so comfortable just driving quickly. Like it's not struggling to go, you know, almost triple digits on the freeway. And with the 8-speed, you're like at 2,000 RPM going 90, and it's like almost like the fuel efficient range for it. Right in Germany on the Autobahn, that's what they want. They want your car to cruise at that speed easily. In the US here, right, we have like 60-70 mile an hour speed limits. So well-made cars, very enjoyable. This car is optioned, interestingly. I think it has the M Performance package, which is different from the M Sport package. I don't know if it had the M Performance exhaust before. I got it with a straight pipe, and I'm trying to work it back a little bit so I can just drive this on a longer road trip and enjoy it without drone. Like right now we're at almost 2K RPM. Let me put it in drive, and so with any load I feel like kind of vibration in the chassis from all the resonance. We're gonna put the resonator in. Hopefully it hides all that, steals all that funny business. I highly recommend these newer German Beamers. It's maintenance wise, yes, notorious. You have to be very meticulous with oil changes and oil leaks, but nothing I'm not used to with other sporty cars. For near 100k miles, this thing is pretty good. Yeah, it's the oil pan is wet. Probably need to do the oil pan gasket. You know, the bottom of the engine tells all, although the top could look dry. But it's not an urgent issue. I do recommend not listening to BMW's crazy long service intervals, like 10k miles. Do it like 5k or less. Use a good oil. With this mileage, I would probably start using a 540 instead of the recommended 530, just due to the miles on the bearings and the engine. But it's a lovely ride. I definitely recommend a tune. I have a nephew with a fully stock 335i, and we drive it, and it's really nice. But it feels so pulled back and so restrained. Like the exhaust is so quiet. It's smooth. It has all the same shifting characteristics and the power band. But when you go stage one, I'm sure that blows a lot of people away with just a tune and then you go get a downpipe, and stage 2 and 2 plus. These things wake up, and pretty much you have the power of like a stock M3, M4, or of the same body style. It's interesting. I used to have in the MHD tune, you can set the thermostat to either a track mode, sport mode, or OEM. I used to have it on track mode, and it would never go up past the 160 on the oil temp gauge. That's an oil temp gauge, not a water temp. And so now I've put it on sport because I'm like, I don't want the car to be just cold all the time. I'm not tracking it, just commuting it. I wanted to see. On my M5, I have the max cooling on and it still warms up. That engine just runs hot because of how big it is and how compactly it's packed into the engine bay. We'll see if this one goes up while we drive here, and if it doesn't, even with my little bursts here and there, might put it to OEM setting for now. With an engine, you don't want it to overheat, but you also don't want it to just run at a suboptimal temperature. Reason being, right, you want the correct amount of heat in your engine. A lot of the tuning in the engine will be around temperatures, so if your engine's cold, it might not be giving you all the power, all the timing, all the boost. Now that we're paying attention to it, I do see it's climbed slightly above 160, so I'll experiment with that some more. But it's a very nice feature to have in case you track your car. You can always turn on max cooling for, you know, the longevity of your engine, because you're going to be pushing it to redline consistently. I'll have to get back to you when we have enough space and the road to do a nice pull. Let's catch up after work. I'll see you then. Nice day out. Here's how she's looking currently on the H&R Sport Springs. Overall, not crazy aggressive, but better than stock. I've been looking at doing a front lip, but now that it's this low, daily driving, a lip might be dangerous. So we'll see what happens. Let's go for a spin on the back roads. Definitely in a better mood now that it's after work. Let's go have some fun. Okay. High level comment. These BMWs are tuned from the factory to be great cruisers, great drivers. I know the engine is great, it has lots of potential. But something people don't realize is they like to kind of hacksaw these as well, you know, chop off the exhausts, slap on random intakes, this and that. Myself coming from Subaru tuning background, seatbelt. Myself coming from a Subaru tuning background, Subarus are much less forgiving to random modifications. The car begins to complain much sooner. But I think the same holds true for BMWs. You got to be smarter with the modifications. Sure, maybe it's not a strictly MAF car and going to do the same things that a Subaru does or complain in the same ways, but an engine is an engine, and misuse of it, you'll most likely reap some issues down the road. For example, I got this car fully straight pipe. The drone was horrendous. Sure, it sounded good when you're giving it a rev or accelerating, but I just steady state cruise on the freeway, 2K or less RPM, and my head was hurting, so to speak. I had a headache. And so now I'm trying to pedal backwards to finding a happy medium, like a sporty exhaust sound, but I also want no drone. For example, I have the F10 M5. It just has downpipes, catless downpipes, and the stock exhaust after that, and it sounds great. It's not a straight pipe, it's not crazy loud, but when I drive it for an hour, I'm in comfort, and I am happy with it. So that's that. For this car, I plan to put back the resonator. I have a muffler now. It's not OEM. It's like an aftermarket muffler, but it has helped with a lot of the not so pleasant noises. I think it's important with cars to get the distinct sound, to get a nice sound out of it, and not just noise. do some driving here with the sunroof open once we get onto the back roads. I'll open a window as well. I like this transmission quite a bit. This car feels a lot lighter than the previous body style. Maybe that's true, or maybe that's just the way they built it, where the gearing, the car, you know, zero and up feels pretty good. This is still comfort mode and regular drive. In normal driving transmission mode, the shifts are good. It's not a slush box, but it's not a DCT. When you do go into sport mode, it gets a lot more snappy, which is what you want. Let's put the engine in sport mode as well. Fun. Stage 2 is way more fun than stage 1. I don't have the traction off. Gotta get used to it. This is literally my first day with the stage 2 tune on it. Let's see if we can do a couple downshifts. So yeah, it's OEM spec burbles. You hear a little bit. It's just one little. My favorite is the Brap overrun on an upshift. Not as much the burbles. I love it. Something I might do on this car, although the springs are stiffer, the rear sway bar is still really thin. Something I've always done on my sports cars is buy a stiffer rear sway bar. The fronts are usually a pretty thick sway bar due to the weight of the engine, but if you want the back to feel more planted, maybe a little more tail happy, you want a stiffer rear sway bar. People go with like 20 millimeter, 22 millimeter, 24 millimeter, and so on, and those really come alive. Oh, I'm sorry. I was driving in regular drive mode. Let's see if it likes sport and this mode a lot better. Something I want to try here is the anti-lag. Woo! Love it. All the sounds it makes. Close the sunroof. This thing's very lively and it feels so nimble. I enjoy this as a daily. I want to get my M5 to a point where it feels kind of like this. It feels great already for such a big car. That thing's like over 4,000 pounds. This is 3,400. So like, let's say 800 pound difference. It's quite a bit. But the 3 Series, it's fun on these little back roads. The M5 is more of a freeway cruiser, freeway missile. This guy's got a lot of dust coming up behind him. I'm gonna change my map from setting 1 to setting 3. This is, I think, where I have the most aggressive burbles. Let's see if we can hear it. Ooh, pop snap. Putt, putt. It's a little much. Let's go back to number 2. I really enjoy this on-the-fly stuff. Let's turn on the dash so you can see whatever's going on there. We could try a little 1, 2, 3 over here. You guys ready? And the first 4 gears go by quick. It sounds really good. Summer's here, gotta have fun, but be safe on the roads. I like to do this on the back roads. I don't like driving in general in crowded places, like in the city. I remember I was test driving one of my Beamers and we were like in downtown Seattle, and I needed to get out on the freeway to see anything about the car, because I was not gonna be flooring it and ripping it around downtown, because I just don't feel confident, don't feel safe doing that. A rear-wheel drive high horsepower car could be a little unpredictable. Oh, we got some motorcyclists coming by. Let's just put it in regular sport mode and see what it does for us on its own. Lovely. Very peachy. It's just enough power to have fun. It's not too much power. So, you know, it's like that 400 level. And so you can floor it and not be afraid for your life. It's just enough to have plenty of fun.